Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids for several weeks while she is on a baby moon with her boyfriend? Original post. I, 28 female, have a sister, Jamie, 38 female, who has 3 kids. Melanie, 11 female, Sarah, 8 female, and Carl, 5 male with her ex-husband, whom she divorced 6 months ago due to her cheating with her current boyfriend, Daniel, 62 male. Jamie's kids are absolute brats. And last time they came over 3 years ago, Melanie smashed a vase, and Sarah scribbled on my Uggs with permanent marker. This was when I decided to become child-free. I also decided to distance myself from them, though I do speak to them and we have occasional family dinners at my aunt's place. Anyway, Jamie and Daniel are expecting a child, a boy, and they decided to go on a baby moon, which will happen in a week. They're not very wealthy. Jamie spent nearly all of her money on the trip, and Daniel will be working double shifts until and after the baby moon to support them both, so they did not hire a babysitter. Yesterday, Jamie unexpectedly called me and asked if I could babysit her kids. I said no, as I have been getting a degree online and have to fly to my university for my graduation ceremony. At first, she tried to persuade me, saying her kids are absolute darlings and that I won't even notice they are there. I told her my answer was still the same. Then she went off on a rant and called me all kinds of things, like that I'm a heartless bee who can't have a little compassion for her poor pregnant sister. I told her that if she wants somebody to work for her for free, she can actually get a job and not sleep with men who are literally old enough to be her father in the hopes that they are rich. She hung up and is now bombarding me with texts begging me to reconsider. I am beginning to feel a bit guilty. Should I have been nicer to Jamie? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You're under no obligation to babysit your nieces and nephews, especially when it's for an extended period and you have your own commitments. Your sister's behavior is unreasonable and disrespectful. Baby moon? Folks are just making up holidays on the fly now. Not the a-hole. It meant for first-time parents. The last time it's just the 2 of you, not for a 4th kid. Why can't you leave them with their daddy? He lives in another country. Then that's the country they should vacation in, so he can keep the kids. Bro, try and tell that to her. She's literally going to a tropical island that's a 5-hour flight from here. If she'd had to go to her ex's country, she'd have to pay for round-trip 12-hour flights for 2 adults and 3 kids, plus hotels, cabs, food, etc. And she'd have to take her kids and not get the chill baby moon with her baby daddy that she wanted, because she'd have to take the kids and communicate with her ex. Now for the update. Last night, Jamie texted me. She seemed upset. Apparently, she had to cancel her baby moon because I rudely denied the amazing opportunity to watch her kids. However, not everything from the canceled trip was fully refunded, so she demanded that I compensate her for the rest and also pay for a fully funded trip to Disney for her, Daniel, and the kids. She also sent me links to several things, such as a pack of Japanese expensive diapers, baby clothes, baby shoes. What baby needs mini Asics that cost a fortune? And other stuff, totaling about $500. I didn't text back and blocked her. Later, Daniel called me. I didn't pick up. At about midnight, Jamie showed up at my house and dropped Melanie, her 11-year-old, off. Now I'm conflicted. Should I call the police and get Jamie in trouble and possibly get Melanie in trouble with Jamie? Or should I go to her house and sort this out myself? Did Melanie say why she was dropped off? Also, honestly, sounds like the relationship between you and her is over. I'd planned to go no contact. She said it was because her mommy needed her auntie to be a good aunt and watch a child for once in her life. The aunt is me. Your sister is just like my cousin. Will post constantly on Facebook about her children being her world, but would drop them all the moment a new baby daddy enters her life. What a sad existence. Not the a-hole. Call the police. Tell them your sister abandoned her child and that she has threatened to abandon all of her kids and disappear for multiple weeks, whether you're available or agree or not. Let them come and get your niece and make her face the consequences. Unless you give her consequences, she will continue abusing you. So it's the only way to stop this for good. Take action. She broke the law by abandoning her daughter when she knew you were against it. Let her face child services and the police for it. Also, call the dad and offer to testify to give him full custody if he wants it. Reaching out to the dad could really help. He needs to know what's going on so he can protect the kids. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to maintain a bond with my granddaughter after my daughter asked her uncle to walk her down the aisle at her wedding? For context, a month before my daughter married her husband, I filed for divorce from my wife. My wife had emotionally cheated on me for a couple of months, and I couldn't really get over it. Now, while the timing wasn't great, I just did not want to be with my wife anymore, and I did not want to pretend to be happy with her. My wife and I informed our daughter, and we were honest about what happened since our daughter was an adult. However, my daughter was devastated and asked how I could do this to her just a month before her wedding. She said her mom clearly regretted what happened and was desperately trying hard to save the marriage. But my daughter said that regardless, she understood my decision to divorce. But why would I do it just a month before her wedding, the happiest day of her life? The whole thing was a mess, but my daughter did get over the shock after a week or so. However, she was really angry with me, and even though I was invited to the wedding, she withdrew my invitation to walk her down the aisle and asked her uncle to do it instead. It really hurt me, but it was my daughter's special day, so I didn't make a fuss. At the end of the day, I was happy for her. She at least did a father-daughter dance with me. However, after the wedding, I gradually distanced myself from my daughter. She understood the reason for it. A year later, my daughter apologized for not asking me to walk her down the aisle. I told her it was okay and that there was no reason to apologize, but there was also no reason for us to have a bond anymore. My daughter thankfully understood my decision. It hurt me to say these things because she looked really sad, but it was time I put myself first. A few months ago, my daughter gave birth to her first baby. Over the past couple of months, she has been calling a lot, apologizing and crying, because she really wants her daughter to have a bond with me. But the truth is, I just don't care. I feel emotionally detached, and at this stage in my life, I don't want to put effort into someone who betrayed me so badly. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I lost my mom 2 years ago. Now your ex-wife is thankfully still alive, but your daughter's behavior and yours reminds me of my own behavior and my father's following my mom's passing. Just pain everywhere. I couldn't talk to my dad because I couldn't handle his pain as well as my own. My dad now feels emotionally distant from all his children, even those who've been in constant contact, and by extension from his grandchildren, because he's numb with grief and, understandably, resentful that his later years aren't going as he planned. What you and your daughter are experiencing sounds like anger masking grief. It is totally understandable, but my best advice is talk to your daughter and enjoy your grandchild. Let the child heal the rift between you. There's a whole new vista of love and adventure wrapped up in that kid for you, right there. It's not really a matter of who's the a-hole. It's a matter of what's going to make the rest of your life happiest. I'm just an internet stranger, so disregard if you like. But I'd be grabbing the new opportunity for joy and love with both hands if I were you. All the best. Excellent advice. My family fell apart after a parent died. It's quite common. Divorce and weddings are right up there in terms of stress, and all these things tend to bring out the worst in everyone because they're just so incapacitated by grief and pain. Take this advice, OP, for your own sake most of all. Not the a-hole for feeling that way, but you're the a-hole for telling your daughter that everything is fine, that she did nothing wrong, and that all is forgiven, while getting increasingly angry about it. This gave her no chance to mend fences with you because she didn't know anything was wrong. You need to get some therapy for yourself. This won't necessarily make you forgive her or have a relationship with your grandchild, but it may help you deal with what happened. It may also help you understand whether you do or don't want to have a relationship with either your daughter or your grandchild going forward. It may even help you determine whether you want to ask your daughter to attend family therapy with you. On that part, I feel like this is an everyone sucks here situation. But it is possible to forgive and move on without going back to the status quo or re-establishing ties. OP and others who feel they have been slighted by someone don't owe them any obligation to mend fences and repair the relationship. Next story. Am I the a-hole for freaking out at my friends after they implied my husband was a predator? I, 27 female, and my husband, 29 male, have been together for 10 years and married for 6. He's the love of my life. When we got together, he moved in with me and my family, because I lived with my parents at the time in a very expensive city. I have 3 younger siblings, 16 female, 14 male, and 12 female. For all their 14th birthdays, I've always said I would take them on a trip. We took my sister on a trip for her 14th birthday, and now at the end of this month, we are taking my little brother. My husband and my brother get along better than anyone. Neither of them have a brother. My husband has a sister, and my brother is the only boy out of the 6 of us. So they gravitate toward each other, and it's incredibly sweet to see. It's like they were meant to be brothers. Last night, I was hanging out with a few of my friends, and I was talking about how we are planning on taking my brother on a trip. I joked about how I would be third-wheeling the entire time because they get along so well. A few of my friends laughed, but one of them gave me a weird look. She said that sounded really weird and inappropriate if my husband was giving my younger brother more attention than me. I said no, it wasn't like that at all. They just get along well, and it was a joke. That friend then said it was inappropriate that my almost 30-year-old husband is so close with my brother who is a minor, and that she wouldn't be surprised if it was a grooming situation and I was blind to it. I freaked the heck out, not gonna lie. I yelled at her. How dare she imply anything like that about my husband, whom she has met and gets along with? I told her she was the pervert for thinking that my husband, who was the only boy in his family, bonding with my younger brother, who is the only boy in ours, was inappropriate. I left and went home. Since then, the group chat has been blowing up with people taking sides. Some agreeing that it is kinda weird, and others saying she was way out of line and needs to get over herself. I haven't told my husband because I don't want him to feel weird, but I'm starting to feel bad about how I handled it, wondering if I overreacted and should have just left. Am I the a-hole? Lol, WTF. Absolutely not the a-hole. I would have lost my mind if I was in your position. It's like someone telling that my boyfriend getting along so well and bonding with my nephew is creepy. No girl, you're creepy for taking a brotherly/friendly bond and immediately assuming it's sexual. Barf. I completely agree. Also, it makes me wonder how messed up your friend's life is. Opie needs to cut off this friendship and tell her husband. Imagine finding out your wife's friends think you're a pedo. It would be a betrayal if he wasn't kept in the loop here. If he finds out later, he might think his wife was complicit. Not the a-hole, as long as they haven't seen your partner with your brother. If they have, they may have been trying to raise concerns about something they've witnessed. Otherwise, it's totally sweet and normal for long-term partners to be close to the siblings of their partner. These are my childhood friends. They have seen my husband with my brother, and I can 100% guarantee there has never been anything remotely creepy or sexual going on between them. I'm a housewife. My husband works from home. We are together, no joke, 24/7, and I am always around when he is around my brother. There is nothing. I just check in to see if she just lived through grooming herself and kinda just sees it everywhere. At this point, I don't give a damn if she had. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that her boyfriend needs to move out of the house? Well, I haven't told my wife and her sister yet that the sister's boyfriend needs to move out. I want to cross my T's and dot my I's legally first. Nonetheless, here is the situation. I, 40 male, bought a house with my wife while I was living overseas. My wife allowed her sister, her 2 kids, and the sister's boyfriend to move into the house with her, since I wasn't living there. The boyfriend, 30 male, quickly claimed the garage and made it his man cave. My wife didn't care, as she never went to the garage. When I say he made it his man cave, I mean that he stays down there all day and often sleeps there. He comes out to go to work, unless he has been laid off, goes to the bathroom, and raids the refrigerator since he doesn't eat meals with a family. After being overseas for almost 3 years, I have now lived in the house for nearly 2 years. At my wife's request, I have looked into buying a second home. That way, they could rent one of the homes from us, which would also provide me with the space I need in my own house. While we were looking at houses, I allowed him to use the garage. It turns out that we can't buy a second house because, after agreeing to pay $700 a month in rent, they have consistently fallen short by $200 to $400 a month. 8 months ago, I brought home a motorcycle and told him that he needed to make room in the garage so I could rebuild it. He agreed. Unfortunately, he never followed through and continued to sleep in the garage. So, in mid-December, I told him he needed to move his stuff out of the garage, and I gave him a 3-week time frame. Well, we are now well over a month and a half past that deadline. He has told me that he stays in the garage because he doesn't like living here. He has also said that he will remove his stuff from the garage, but he has yet to follow through. He is upset that he has lived here for this long and doesn't understand why everything has to change now. He tells me he doesn't have a place to put his stuff and that his family will move out soon, despite not actually having a time frame. I have pointed out that he can simply pack his stuff in boxes and stack it in a corner, since he is moving anyway. Or he can get a storage unit like I had to, because his family is taking up 3 bedrooms in my garage. His answer to this was to threaten to kick my butt and tell me to talk to my sister-in-law because he doesn't want to talk to me. There is obviously more to the story, but those are the basics. If more details are needed, let me know. I will provide them. Finally, my first inclination was to let him off with a warning and make it clear that under no circumstances should he ever threaten me again because I would go to the police if it ever happened again. However, after sleeping on it, I am leaning toward removing him from the property now. My reason is simple. I wouldn't tolerate him threatening violence against anyone else in the house. So, in that train of thought, threatening me should be no different. Not the a-hole. He's been disrespecting you and threatening you. Time for him to go. Not the a-hole. I had something kind of similar happen to me. I allowed this couple to rent storage space in one of the buildings on the property while they lived in their travel trailer near the garage. It wasn't long before they decided to live in it full-time against my wishes. Eventually, they stopped paying rent but didn't want to leave. Long story short, after more police visits to my house than I can count and thousands of dollars later, I finally managed to legally evict them after a year. The police came and forcibly removed them from the property because even at that point, they still refused to leave. Such a joke. What I learned from this nightmare was, don't wait to start the legal process. Get a landlord's advocate, a professional who specializes in winning evictions for landlords. Even if you think you can handle the mountain of paperwork and legal process yourself, get one anyway. Do this right away, family or not. If you call the police, all they will do is tell you this is a civil issue and needs to be taken to court unless there is actual physical violence, of course. Let's hope it never comes to that extreme. Good luck to you, and I hope everything works out for the best. Yep, this right here. Most states favor the tenant, and it takes a year to get someone out. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take care of my wife since she caught the flu from having sex with her affair partner? Original post. This is partially a rant and partially an actual question. I, 54 male, have been married to my wife, Victoria, 54 female, for over 32 years. We have 3 adult daughters and 1 adult son. Early this year, she started menopause. I loved her and supported her throughout this difficult time. She said she didn't want to have sex because she felt like she's fat and ugly. I told her she's beautiful, and I was patient with her as she said she didn't want to be intimate. It was only since this month that she wanted us to be intimate again. I thought things were getting better, until I saw a condom wrapper in our bedroom. My job involves going out of town for business trips. This last trip, I tried to get into my wife's social media, and luckily enough, she used someone's birthday as the password. I found out her affair partner is Zachary, 35 male, a family friend who has a wife, 29 female. So on my trip, I read so many messages. One message involved Zachary asking if it's okay to come over for their fun time since he thinks he's coming down with something. Even after getting back in town, I read some messages. Zachary messaged that he and his wife have the flu, so he can't see my wife for a while. My wife said that herself getting the flu was worth it. I came home to my wife who's suffering from the flu. I immediately told her that I know about her and Zachary. She was upset, but too weak from the flu to stop me from packing and leaving. She begged me not to leave her alone while she's sick. After I left, my wife has been messaging me. She said she's very sick. I told her to go to the doctor, call ambulance, or call someone else. She said she's not dying, but she needs me. She said she can't call our kids nor any other family member since they'll ask why I'm not there. She said that menopause had made her crazy and that she wouldn't see Zachary anymore. I still haven't gone back. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Menopause did not make her cheat. Mail order a carton of NyQuil to her if you're feeling a little compassionate. I'll never know what menopause feels like. I've known other women who've gone through it. To my knowledge, those women have managed to avoid sleeping with married men who's a family friend. Not the a-hole. Leave her and don't look back. Her being sick makes it harder to leave her, but I can't be around her. Single woman here. I take care of myself when I'm sick. She can too. She chose that outcome. Now she has to lie sick in it. All kinds of ick sleeping with a married man-child close to the family. She literally chose to have sex with a man who warned her that he was coming down with something. Afterwards, she messaged him that their fun was worth getting the flu. I have to remember that in case I feel sorry for her. Call the wife and tell her. Call all your kids and tell them before she lies and do the kids right away. See a lawyer right away. I would hate to tell my kids, but I may have to if their mom will lie to them. She will, or say it's because your day was verbally abusive. You need to go on the offensive. If you play the good guy, it will come back to kick you in the teeth. Call them now. Show them the texts about the flu, etc. I told my kids just now. I also told Zach's wife. Now for the mini updates. As soon as I found the messages, I was planning on telling Zach's wife. I wanted to tell her face to face. I wanted to spare our adult kids the horrible news. But many in the comments made a good point that my wife could lie to our kids. So I called Zach's wife first. I don't know what's going on in their marriage because she believed me right away. I called my kids and talked to them like a conference call. I had to unfortunately send some proof to them. I didn't go overboard, just enough for them to believe me. Obviously, they're all upset. I tried to keep it together as I don't want to vent about their mother to them. Mini update 2. Zach's wife has been messaging me last night and this morning. She was planning on leaving Zachary anyway because Zachary was sleeping with 2 other women. But the fact that Victoria is a married woman who is like a family member speeds things up. Zach's wife made Zachary leave the house. Also, all my kids have called their mother. They're not buying any of their mom's excuses. They all want me to divorce her. Update 3. The answer was obvious, but I needed other people to tell me, so I didn't stupidly go back to my wife. Thank you for those who commented on the first post. I had made 2 edits on the first post explaining some stuff that happened after I posted. To just briefly touch on those edits, Zach's wife and my adult kids know that my wife Victoria had an affair with Zachary. Zach's wife kicked him out of their house. All kids are on my side and they want us to divorce. I talked to a friend who's a major divorce attorney for the 3rd time. I've given her a lot of evidence so she can decide what she can use. She did say that I should be careful with what I say online, especially not to use Victoria's and Zachary's real names. Our kids, especially our eldest daughter, are pressuring their mom to make this a quick and easy divorce. A lot of people who commented said I was being too nice to my cheating wife. I'll show some pettiness by letting everyone here mock all the excuses and minimizations she made for cheating. Menopause made her crazy. She felt fat and ugly. She felt like she didn't deserve me. Zachary came on to her first. She wanted to make sure a man can be attracted to her without him being obligated to because she's the mother of his children. She had sex with Zachary to make sure she can still have sex. She says Zachary didn't mean anything to her. I'm overreacting because Zachary is a family friend and not a family member. Zach's wife isn't like a daughter to us. She didn't betray a woman that's like a daughter to us. Other husbands have forgiven their wives when the wives cheat. If I had sex with a younger woman during a midlife crisis, she would have forgiven me. We have 4 kids. We've been together for so long. I promised to love her in sickness and in health. She felt like she didn't deserve me. I mean, she ain't wrong. Some people will go to great lengths just to always be right. Her excuses are disgusting. Good for you for seeing through her BS. Menopause doesn't make you cheat. If she felt fat and ugly, then that's something to work out in therapy or with you. I think she almost ran a full list of made-up excuses, except for the mind-controlling aliens excuse. It's interesting how she's refusing to acknowledge any harm she did to the other wife. Zach's wife is someone Victoria and I watched grow up. She was like a niece. Our eldest daughter was the maid of honor at their wedding. The fact that she feels no remorse for the pain she inflicted on another woman is telling. It's all me, 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 me. I felt sad, I felt ugly, I felt old, me, me, me. What about the other woman? True, Victoria is so self-centered. Menopause makes just about every woman gain weight, especially in the stomach. I went through about 13 years ago. Never cheated on my husband. My eldest daughter didn't appreciate it when my wife said that when she goes through menopause, she'll understand. Next story. Am I the a-hole for allowing my husband's mistress to meal prep for him and the kids? My husband has been cheating on me for years with different women. Due to this, I've completely shut off from him. We don't have a sexual relationship, but we do an amazing job at being parents. Our kids love us, and that's all that matters in the grand scheme of things. I am not dating anyone. This isn't an open relationship. Every time he cheats, he acts more remorseful, but I've come to terms that I can't save him. He's seeing this woman Cherry, and she's a cook and baker. We were in a little tussle once, but that's in the past. I've moved on. I don't like her, but I don't hate her. Few weeks back, I caught him eating in his car and realized it was from her. The packaging gave him away. She has been sending him goodie bags and now full meals. I told him going forward, I'm no longer cooking for him and he needs to let her do everything including meals for the kids. I really put my foot down and did some petty things that I'm not proud of, but it worked. I told him if she loves him, he will do it, but I'm done. Well, I don't know what he did to convince her, but at least 3 times a week they get meals from Cherry. He brings the container and plates the food. The kids are happy because they think they're getting takeout. I don't partake. On the other days, I cook for just the kids and myself. My husband, on the other hand, got mad and said I manipulated him into taking advantage of Cherry and kept asking me what do I get out of these mind games. I told my best friend about the whole ordeal, and she's upset with me saying that what if Cherry spikes the kids' meals? I don't think she would do it. Am I the a-hole for letting this happen? Now for the comments. Mistress wanted to be a sister wife. She got assigned sister and wife duties. LMAO. I don't really know how I feel about trusting a mistress on feeding my kids though. She's a professional mistress. She'll move on from him soon. Why are you staying with him? For Pete's sake, just get divorced. This is sick and a terrible environment in which to raise kids. I'm not giving up my house and leaving with half. I hope I get under his skin and he gives up everything. These comments are boosting me to leave, but it's not black and white. We have built a good amount together. Financially, it's a stupid idea. It's cool to say leave until you're homeless with no help. Not everyone has a village. I do provide, but I'm not leaving my home. How long would my salary last to stay in a hotel or motel? Get an apartment? We live in a small town, as I've said many comments ago. I would have to move 30 minutes away to live in an apartment complex. My husband would not leave our home either. I can't up and leave and stay at a friend's home. In all likelihood, you wouldn't have to. Negotiate that in a divorce. Find out if you live in an at-fault state. You have proof of his repeated infidelity. Honestly, talk to a lawyer. Find out what your options are. Nobody deserves to live like this. And you're going to seriously ruin your kids if the shenanigans continue. Kids aren't stupid. This is the strangest thing I've read on here in ages. I know a couple in a similar situation. They struggled with infertility for years, both had issues, and eventually decided to adopt. After adopting a few children, including some who were not babies, she caught him sleeping with her best friend. Despite this, she didn't want to divorce because she felt it would be unfair to break up their home after finally providing a stable and safe environment for the children. 2 of the kids had been in intense therapy for years and were finally starting to settle in and calm down. The couple has developed an amazing co-parenting dynamic and even friendship, but there's no intimacy or romantic love between them. She says she's not interested in relationships anymore and is content with her life as it is. The husband, however, isn't as happy. He misses having a loving relationship with her, but he knows there's no going back. He stays because he doesn't want to disrupt the children's lives. It's unusual to witness, but I respect that they've managed to keep things together for the sake of the kids. They don't fight at all. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband after he won a large sum of money? My 32 female husband, 36 male, was in a work accident several years ago, and he won a court case in which he was awarded a sum in the multi-millions. My husband and I live in the US and have been struggling for years, especially since his accident, since he hasn't been able to work a job in his specialty since. He's mainly been working minimum to low-wage jobs because his degree and trade experience are in an industry his body can no longer work in. I make pretty good money, but again, we live in the economical hellscape that is America. In the last year since the settlement, my husband has become the most smug, stuck-up, pretentious man I've ever known, and I'm sick of it. Our friends and family aren't good enough for us anymore because now we have money. Our home and cars and clothes weren't good enough for us, and anyone with a small house, paid-off car, or mall clothes was sad and depressing. He judges people hard, and he is not quiet about it. He is mean and rude to the people we interact with. Of course, we got nicer things when he received his money, but he was adamant on luxury things. And to him, anyone who doesn't live in a mansion on the hills with a Lamborghini and Gucci shoes is embarrassing. He gets upset with me for not wanting to spend crazy amounts of money. Why would I buy a $2,000 pair of shoes when I can get a pair just like it for $60? It feels like giving a child with no concept of money $20 and setting them free in a Dollar Tree. He's bought me a ton of expensive clothes and jewelry, new electronics. He pays for high-end spa days and even bought me a new car. I feel like an ungrateful woman for saying this, but I don't really like the gifts. Nothing is my style or taste. He's buying it just because it's expensive. My husband harasses me daily to quit the job I love and says that I make us look bad by working and making us still look poor. He gets upset if I want to go to the same chain restaurants we've always liked, Buffalo Wild Wings, Jack in the Box, etc., instead of 5-star Michelin steakhouses and sushi places because we can afford it now. He's even gone as far as trying to push me towards plastic surgery because we can't afford it, so why not? He suggested a boob job, BBL, lip filler, and at one point, that surgery where they removed the bottom rib. I feel like he's starting to think I don't look good enough for him and our new lifestyle. We've gone to couples therapy, but his attitude isn't improving. It's even gotten worse, and I'm miserable. This is not the man I married. I don't want to have kids and raise a family with him, but I'm afraid that if I leave, everyone will cry gold digger. We married when we were young and broke, and didn't consider a prenup because we had nothing. Dumb, I know, but we were kids. Am I the a-hole? No, leave him. He's going to blow through that money soon enough. Keep all the gifts and sell them once you are divorced. He's told you to get plastic surgery. If you don't, he will just cheat because he knows gold diggers will be after him. Yes, he will waste it all away. Get out and find peace and love. Leave. Not only will he waste all that money away in no time, he will go into huge debt in order to maintain the lifestyle and image that he wants to project to the world. If Opie doesn't leave soon, she will be on the hook for all the debt that he incurs via loans and credit cards, after wasting all the money he was awarded. He is exactly like those stupid lottery winners who end up living in a broken-down trailer at the end of a dirt road, hiding from collection agencies and people who still think they have money. OP is not the a-hole, but she needs to divorce now. Not the a-hole. I would also be very afraid of that level of spending, in addition to him being an insufferable prick. I mean, multi-million sounds like a lot, but is it 4 million or 20 million? In general, you can live off investments, assuming the money is invested, but the rule of thumb is 4% of the amount if you want the money to last. And you need it to last. You guys are young. Let's say it is $5 million. That means the 4% amount before taxes is $200K a year income. This equals roughly $141K a year after taxes. That is not Gucci and Lambo money. You know, most lottery winners are broke after a couple of years, and it sounds like your husband is on the same path. I would make sure you are saying in counseling that you are not enjoying things just because they are expensive. You liked your old life, minus the financial stress. You liked him when he enjoyed his simpler things, and you want him to stop acting like an entitled a-hole. Also, I suggest you quietly go talk to a lawyer and find out what the financial split would be. Depending on where you live, you might not be entitled to any of it, or you might be entitled to a reasonable split. If you are entitled to a reasonable share, you can always go for less and settle for, say, 1 to 2 million. That would be enough to have a great retirement if you invested it and kept working for 15 or 20 years. This man is going to burn through all that money, and once it hits him that it's over, he's going to go from smug jackass to an incredibly bitter and oppressed one. I hate to say get out while the getting is good, but your advice is spot on.
In the first story, we get a rare glimpse into the mind of the cheater. And this guy thought that what he did wasn't that bad, because he stopped halfway and didn't finish, because the girl he's cheating on his wife with wasn't good in bed. Then tried to weasel his way out of taking responsibility for what he did. Now let's see how this story unfolds. Original post: my wife and I have a great relationship. I can't say I have any real complaints. We have been together for 5 years, married for 2 of those, and up until now, I would have said I would never stray. I was away for work last week, and while I was in the hotel, a young woman, 21 female, sat next to me and began to flirt with me. I was extremely flattered by the attention. I have to admit it was a real ego boost to be flirted with by someone so young, as I've started to get that middle-aged dad bod and have been feeling like I'm losing my looks a bit. After a bit of talking, the woman invited herself back up to my hotel room, where we started doing it. For me, it was all about the thrill of being desired by someone other than my wife, especially by a very young woman. I was slightly drunk, and I figured I'll probably never get the opportunity to sleep with a 21-year-old again. But the thrill wore off very quickly as I realized that I wasn't enjoying myself. This girl was not good at all. She basically just laid there and starfished. Sometimes she would pull herself into what she thought was a sexy pose, but that was it. She didn't seem interested in me at all. She seemed more interested in herself and how sexy she thought she was. Intimacy with my wife has always been amazing. When I'm with my wife, she's all over me, talking to me and telling me how hot I am, grabbing me, touching me, and so on. I feel like the hottest guy in the world when I'm with my wife. With this girl, I felt like I could leave the room and she might not even notice, let alone care. She seemed like she just wanted the ego boost of a guy finding her attractive. I couldn't stay on, and stopped about 10 minutes into it and asked her to leave, which she did. I didn't finish, I just took a shower and then called my wife to hear her voice. Now I'm back home, and so far, I haven't told my wife about any of it. There's a guilty part of me that says I should, because she deserves to know. But another part of me says, why should I torpedo our happy marriage and cause her pain, for something that I didn't even enjoy and will never do again? All it did was prove to me that I want my wife more than anyone else. I want to do the right thing, but I genuinely don't know what the right thing to do is here. I know that I will never ever stray again. Should I tell her or keep it to myself? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I, 40 male, started to cheat on my wife, 38 female, but stopped halfway through. You didn't start to cheat, you cheated. Hard stop. You worded it this way to make yourself not sound bad. Let me say it again. You cheated. Don't forget that you said you didn't enjoy it because you felt she wasn't that into it. Would you have felt bad and still stopped when you thought she was great? Again, you cheated. Okay then, yes, I cheated. I do take responsibility for that. I realize I've messed up. If she'd been great, then I don't know. The fact that she was so bad brought me back to reality. But I think even if she had been great, I would still have realized that I ultimately just want my wife. Then take actual responsibility and come clean to your wife. Posting anonymously on the internet to strangers isn't taking responsibility. You complain about her ego boost making her think she didn't have to do anything, This whole thing was ego boost for you. You are no different, but much more pathetic. It sounds like you only regret doing it with this other woman because she was bad in bed. If this 21-year-old was incredible and better than your wife, would you have stopped in the middle? Exactly. And also kind of blaming her for doing it for the sole reason to get her ego boosted. OP's self-awareness is below zero. And now for the update. I really took a beating here when I made my first post, so maybe some of you will be happy to read this update. Maybe not. I was still not sure whether to tell my wife what happened or not after making the post. This is not because I'm selfish like some of you said, but because I was struggling to find the logic in telling her something that would hurt her when she didn't need to know, because it was never going to happen again. But I did also take on board what others said about how if it was them, they would want to know, and to some point I agreed with them about that. It didn't end up mattering because my wife realized something was up a few days after I got back from my work trip. She brought up how I'd been very quiet and seemed off ever since getting back, and she looked and sounded so worried about me that I decided in the moment to tell her. I didn't want us to have any secrets from each other, so I told her everything. She didn't believe me at first. She believed I would start to sleep with the other woman, but not that I had stopped or that it was bad. I showed her the post I made so she could see I wasn't just spinning her a flattering story to try and get off the hook. She started to cry while reading it, and then said the sentence that has been going round and round my head 24/7 since then. I loved you so much. Loved, past tense. I asked if she could really just fall out of love so quickly, and she said yes, and in the space of a few minutes, I had gone from the love of her life and the man she wanted to grow old with, to just another sad man having a midlife crisis. We talked for most of the night, but she wouldn't budge. She turned down my offer of marriage counseling or counseling for just myself. I suggested we take a short week's break so she can think about things, but her mind is made up. We are filing for divorce, and in the meantime, I am sleeping in our spare room so she can remain in our marital bed. This is not how I wanted any of this to go. She is without a doubt the woman I love, and the woman I will always love, and if I could go back in time, I would lock myself in my hotel room for that entire work trip and only come out for the conference. I hold hope that she might one day change her mind all the same. Our connection is too strong to be destroyed by 30 minutes of poor decision making. Did you really just ask her how she could fall out of love so quickly? My dude, you cheated on her. Where was your love for her in that moment? Why is it always the cheaters that have the audacity to accuse the victim of giving up? It was reading. I didn't want to hurt her and she didn't need to know. That did it for me. She didn't even really fall out of love. She just found out the man she was in love with didn't exist. Good for her. She deserves better. This woman is a rock star. Entirely too many people take back unfaithful partners and accept awful, selfish behavior. I'm proud of her for putting her foot down and refusing to budge on a boundary. Edit. OP, this is a situation entirely of your own making, and the fact that you seem incapable of properly taking accountability for your deliberate, conscious, bad decisions is just further proof that she's making the right move here. Awful behavior can and does sever relationships. If your connection meant so little to you that you could cheat in the first place, why are you surprised that it's not strong enough to keep her from leaving you? Good for your soon-to-be ex-wife. She has a shiny backbone. I think she will do wonderfully without a cheating husband like OP. Our connection is too strong to be destroyed by 30 minutes of poor decision-making. If the connection is that strong, OP wouldn't have slept with another woman. What a funny way to try and displace blame again. Blame yourself. You're the maker of the decision here, not some 4 and 30 minutes of poor decision. It's you. You are to blame for the whole thing. Exactly. Your connection was destroyed by your poor decision-making, and not just 35 minutes of it. Your poor decision-making started when you didn't immediately shut down this other woman's advances. OP. You decided that your supposedly happy marriage and strong connection was worth less than you betting a 21-year-old. Truly shameful that you are shifting the blame onto your wife. I congratulate her for having enough respect for herself to throw you to the curb. The mental gymnastics is insane. Now for the last story. Update. My husband and Kelsey had more than a little sister relationship. For context, I am 34 and my husband is 37. He has a brother Brad who is 25. Brad dated Kelsey 24 for 10 years. They began dating when they were freshmen in high school. Their first date was actually my wedding. They were engaged for 2 years before Kelsey found out that Brad had cheated on her multiple times the year before, and was still in contact and sending lewd texts to the woman he cheated on her with. This all came out about 4 weeks ago. The entire family was devastated and furious with Brad, who told Kelsey she could have the apartment and moved in with a friend over an hour and a half away. I think he just wanted to be far away from everything. It was weird because Kelsey was a part of the family for so long it was hard to just turn that off. And obviously we didn't, as she's going through a really traumatic time and needs support. Even so, I think it does reach a point where the family has to separate from her, since the only connecting thing, Kelsey and Brad's relationship, is now gone. My husband, however, seems to think that since he's regarded Kelsey as a little sister for so long, she should be treated as such. I come home multiple times a week to her over the house. When I ask my husband about it, he says he'll text her and ask her how she's feeling. And if she says she's feeling down, he'll invite her over to cheer her up. A few nights ago she was over, and while I was putting the kids to bed, my husband offered her a drink and they began drinking downstairs at the bar in our den. I had a medical procedure the next morning, nothing that was a big deal, but something I was supposed to be up and out early for. I didn't need my husband to come with me or anything, but I had mentioned that I would have liked if he would. He ended up offering the guest room to Kelsey, who was up and out early, and then slept in until an hour after I had come home. He has TikTok and just follows her, and a few other big accounts, but she's the only one he follows personally. The one thing I thought he did that I thought way overstepped, and what prompted me to have a conversation with him, is that the family is going on a 2-week vacation to Belize. The house is owned by my in-laws, so we go there often, and Kelsey has come many times. My husband invited her to come to this trip as well, which I think is odd since she is no longer dating Brad, who isn't coming on the vacation. When I had the conversation with my husband about how I thought he was crossing some boundaries with Kelsey, he got very defensive and said I was being heartless for wanting to just write Kelsey off. I tried to explain to him that I wasn't trying to write her off, but since she no longer had ties to the family, why would she come? If she began dating someone tomorrow, would we let her bring her new partner? My husband and I have two very opposing standpoints here, and I'm trying to come up with a way to compromise. Edit, in no way do I mean cut her off. I think our family should show her we support her and are here for her. However, I think there are boundaries being crossed, drinking together at night causing him to miss my procedure, inviting her to vacation. Also, to everyone who seems to have an issue with me thinking she will need to be distanced from the family, how do you think my brother-in-law and any other future partners of his will feel about her joining in on family vacations? Again, I think she is a lovely girl and I will enjoy remaining on friendly terms with her. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, there's room for compromise. No one needs to boot Kelsey out of the family that she has been a part of for 10 years. However, your husband does need to make you and the kids a priority. So, there's no reason for Kelsey not to be included in things. But when you tell your husband you need him to be available to you for things like your medical procedure, then he needs to be there. He's giving too much personal emotional support, having her over constantly without asking his wife, prioritizing hanging with her over his family. Like yes, she is going through a hard time, but has he considered that maybe Kelsey will eventually want or need distance from this family if Brad is going to be staying in contact? Making themselves her primary source of emotional support instead of her own friends or family is dangerous. Now she is trapped near Brad when she should be using this opportunity to find new things. What are they going to do when she dates and maybe marries someone else? Are they going to forever assert they are family? Are they willing to eventually have to pick between Kelsey and Brad? Kelsey deserves better than a family that is strongly split between her and someone who cheated on her. Family support is fine, texts and being in her corner is fine, but she's not his little sister, and this incident seems to have increased husband's relationship with Kelsey. It should remain the same amount of support as it was, no more home visits, but coming along on family vacation and group meals sounds fine to me. This is the correct approach in my opinion. I don't understand all the people saying that it's inappropriate or uncomfortable that he spends a lot of time with her. He's known her since she was 14. She dated his brother for 10 years. I completely get where he's coming from saying she's like a sister. He watched her grow up. So yeah, she's part of the family. If OP and her husband got divorced tomorrow, his family would be well within their rights to still want her around, because she is family. Aside from some priority shifting, I don't see the issue here. I've typed and deleted so many times, I personally would feel uncomfortable. Was your husband this involved with her life before she and Brad broke up? Did they hang out at your house often? Staying up late drinking together just sounds really weird to me. I don't know what specific line it crosses, but I don't like it. How many people are going on this family vacation? Anyone else close to her age? 10 years is a long-term relationship, but it's not that long and they didn't have children together. So, I just don't see why she would still be considered part of the family. Not as involved as this, but they were sort of close. It's us, as well as my in-laws, sister-in-law and her family. The people closest to Kelsey's age will be me and my sister-in-law, who is 35. And now for the update. I'm going to make this short and updating because of all the messages I got asking me for one. Like I stated many times in my last post, many times, though a number of people were still attacking me as though I wanted to banish her from speaking to any of us. I thought Kelsey was a lovely girl and didn't want to completely cut her off, just establish appropriate boundaries. My mother-in-law found out my husband invited Kelsey. Normally this wouldn't be an issue since the house is large enough to accommodate several more people, and to be fair, this wouldn't be the first time someone invited someone on behalf of the family. But the issue was, my mother-in-law had been speaking to Brad, my brother-in-law, and trying to convince him to come, and he eventually caved and said he'd come. So, my mother-in-law flat out said Kelsey can't come. Why would she even want to? It would be too weird for her or Brad. So, my husband came home and told me all this, and then tells me conveniently that he's going to have to come to Belize a week later because of work, and that he'd meet me and the kids there. I'm not going to get into the details because it got really personal, but it wasn't hard to find out that was a lie, and that he was planning on hanging out with Kelsey those days. This lie was the last straw, so I asked to see his phone. I looked through all of his messages on socials, and I found a number of flirty texts with Kelsey, as well as some photos that weren't naked or anything, but definitely suggestive. He said he hadn't realized how quickly things got out of hand, and that he never would have physically cheated. I don't believe that he hasn't already. I'm not really one for second chances, so I can't see this going much further, although I'm not making any permanently rash decisions until I've had time to clear my head and get everything in order. I love how he thought inviting his side piece on a family trip would just go swimmingly. Oh, she can't come, I suddenly need to work that first week. No one will ever know. Your husband and his brother are from the same cloth. Part of me wonders if Kelsey isn't deliberately trying to get back at Brad by getting involved with his brother, but the husband seems to be all too willing. All this seems to be happening really fast. I hate that Kelsey inflicted on OP exactly the same trauma she faced. Like, yeah sure, the brothers are trash, but she is such a hypocrite. Yes, this is one of the rare instances where I find the other woman as despicable as the cheating dude. Normally, I err on the side of, don't blame the other woman who may or may not have known. Blame your craphead husband. But in this case, I say throw both of them straight in the garbage. The fact that this 37-year-old married man is even flirting with a 24-year-old is icky. And 2, the fact that 24-year-old is his little brother's very recent ex-girlfriend of 10 years is just beyond all icky comprehension. He's known her since she was 14 and he was 27. I'm sorry, that's just gross. And he tried to so obviously lie in order to skip out on a family vacation for a week just to supposedly sit next to her. He's either dumb as rocks or just really doesn't care about his marriage or relationship with his brother or anything other than his own junk really. Your husband sounds immature and downright creepy. I'm sorry that you're even having to go through this, as you sound very mature and kind-hearted, but you'd be better off without someone like this in your life.
I want to share my happiness with you. I landed my dream job and apartment, and I can finally leave my cheating husband. Original post. Husband 39 and I, 35, met 10 years ago. He was, up until last year, the love of my life. He was my rock and I his. We shared the same interests, humor and views. We also were child-free. I owned a little sandwich shop that was fairly popular near huge office buildings. I loved my job and I was so content. I made good living. My husband is an engineer. When COVID hit and people started working from home, my business went down pretty quickly, and by the fall of 2020, I had to close for good. I still did some catering gigs, but not near enough to have a decent source of income. My husband said that I shouldn't be worried because he could support both of us. I went back to college for HR management, a 3-year program. Around the same time as all that happened, my husband confessed to me that he might have changed his mind about being child-free, something that I had noticed before he confessed. I loved my husband very much, and I had started noticing him around friends and family members who have small children, and he was so adorable, and to be honest, without my very hectic job, I also started thinking the same. We had our son November last year. The best thing that ever happened to me, but just 3 weeks after I gave birth, my husband came to me and confessed that he cheated on me. It felt like the ground opened from under me. How could that be possible? He was my love and I was his, wasn't I? He apologized and tried to blame it on the pandemic, on being bored at home, on being scared to be a father, on midlife crisis. He loved me and he didn't want to lose me. I felt so trapped with a small baby that needed me. No job and no place to go. Good job, hubby. You sure knew when to deliver this blow. A week later, he asked me what I thought about opening the marriage. Humans aren't meant to stay monogamous, he said. And while he still loved me more than anything in the world, he didn't find me enough. I started crying and begged him not to humiliate me. If he just gave me some time, we could divorce and go our separate ways. He said he wasn't interested in divorce. He didn't want to replace me, just add some new excitement into our relationship. 2 weeks later, he came home with her and told me that she's moving in with us. A 26-year-old that he met at work. He started showing her the apartment and explained how important it was for me to have everything clean and tidy all the time, and that she should abide by that. She was smiling the whole time. He took her to the guest bedroom, and she's been living with us ever since. I moved to my son's room and put locks on, and I've been living with my baby for almost a year now, rarely existing in the common areas beside preparing for my catering gigs. The girlfriend moved eventually into my bedroom with my husband. He warned me that this would happen if I refused to move back. Funny how we can adjust so fast and find small pleasures even in the most difficult times. Having my baby and seeing him grow has been my biggest comfort, him and my studies. After a few months, my husband gave up trying to talk to me outside of matters concerning our son. He finally realized that neither fighting, tantrums, nor love bombing worked on me. And most importantly, he stopped trying to get intimate with me, beside the occasional I love you or I miss you text, sometimes raunchy messages while he's literally on the other side of the wall. His girlfriend kept her distance from me and I was thankful for that. She moved out a few times after they would fight. I don't know the details, but I would guess that she wanted exclusivity. Oh, the irony. She always showed up again after a couple of days, and I acted like I didn't notice any of it. I have 1 year left of my studies, but after my internship, practicing semester at a big firm, my boss offered me a paid internship. It's a full-time job starting in January. It would mean work and study full-time, but I know that I will manage. I'm just so happy. This means that I now have the means to find my own place, and I did. A small studio about 32 square meters, and I'm moving November 1st. I will have to break the news eventually to my husband that I'm moving out and filing for divorce. I don't want to tell him right now, but once I start packing, he will probably understand anyway. I don't know what his reaction would be. Ideally, he would be relieved, but somehow I doubt it. Right now, he thinks I'm bound to him for at least another year because of my studies, and he's still acting like I'm his wife. I have been so lucky this far, and hopefully my moving out and divorce won't be any different. I haven't been this happy in many months, and I wanted to share it somewhere since nobody in my surrounding knows what I have gone through. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I am so proud of you. You have been carrying a heavy load. I can't even imagine what you're having to compartmentalize. You are gonna set the world on fire. Who cares what your sperm donor thinks? He hasn't thought about anyone but himself in a long time. Good riddance. I am sending you all the love, all the strength, and all the abundance that is yours and your son's birthright. Please move yourself out quietly, and tell him at the very last moment. He sounds like a narcissist. He will fight back hard and dirty, so give yourself as much of a head start as you can. Good luck. I am rooting for you. Thank you for your kind words. Men like your husband need to be beaten within an inch of their life for doing this to their family. Screw him and screw her. I hope you get a perfect view of his life crumbling to pieces as she leaves his old butt in the future. What a pathetic excuse for a man. Unfortunately, I need him to have a good life and a happy home for the sake of our son. But I get what you mean. It would feel so good. I don't think a man like your husband would be a good influence on your son. You and your baby deserve better. Congratulations. I wish you the best. Have someone with you when you tell him just in case. Maybe I'll have a lawyer contact him. I'm not afraid of him. He's not a violent person. Please do this in as safe a manner as you can manage. I just lost my best friend to a non-violent husband because she dared to leave him. Now for the update. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. Maybe thank you for supporting me on my last post. Beside the few worthless, why don't you just leave comments? I just wanted to vent and share my story, but many of you have requested an update after I have moved. I got the keys to my little apartment 2 weeks ago because the previous tenant moved out earlier. I was grateful because I wanted to paint the room and do some makeover. I talked to the landlady and ended up telling her my whole story lol. She promised me the next 2-bedroom that becomes available. When I got the keys, I felt that I could finally breathe. I'm not on good terms with my family, but I ended up telling them what's been going on in my life this past year, and my friends too. I don't know why I kept this a secret for so long. Maybe because I was too ashamed or embarrassed, or maybe because I had a definite plan and I didn't want outside influence or distraction. I didn't want my best friend to feel obligated to host me. I didn't want my sister to ask if I could forgive him, or my in-laws to try and change his mind. So, the best thing I knew was to keep quiet and act like everything was normal. I moved last Friday. I had packed all my kitchen gear, and my sons and my clothes, toys, etc. while my husband was at work. My best friend and her husband helped me. I didn't take any of the furniture because I thought it could wait until we divorced, and I requested division of property. I have no room for anything in my little apartment anyway. When my husband came home, I told him that I was leaving. He was confused at first, but I told him about my new apartment, so he asked me how I was going to afford it. His facial expression changed and he looked scared. He started telling me how he has been regretting all of what he did. He loved and missed me. He knew that he messed up and has been thinking that this wasn't what he wanted. He wanted his family back, our son and me. He asked me if I wanted my baby not to have his parents together. Then he said that he was leaving his girlfriend and she would be moving out, and it could be the two of us again. His girlfriend started fighting with him and I just left. He has now been calling me asking to see us. I still want a decent co-parenting relationship with him, so he took our son on Sunday to his parents to spend time with him. This is the first time I'm without my son a whole day. I cried the entire time. I need to get used to this. My in-laws apologized for what my husband did. I think they think this is going to pass and we will be back together. I think everybody think that, besides my best friend. I won't try to convince them. Let time tell them instead. My feelings are letting me down now. After all he did, I still love him with all my heart and I miss him. His kisses, his eyes, the way he looks at and touches me. How weird is that? I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if these feelings will disappear and what they will be replaced with. Hate. Is harboring hate for a man I'm bound to for at least 17 more years something good? Maybe I should use my love for him to create a better co-parenting relationship. Maybe I should not stop loving him, just find a new meaning for this love. Our son is so much like him, especially his smile. It makes it even harder not to think about or miss him. This past year I have not had time to reflect over my feelings. I've done a great job being matter-of-factly and suppress my feelings, but now I'm on my own in my own apartment. I can finally cry and mourn the love that we lost. And the weirdest thing is that I really believe that he still loves me too. In his own weird way. I don't think he ever stopped loving me. I have watched him with his girlfriend for a year now. It's never like how he was with me when we were happy. The only times I could see his old loving self was when he looked at our son or at me when he thought I couldn't see him. When I think of this, I cry even more because what a waste of a beautiful relationship. And for what? My son's birthday is in a few days. I feel so guilty, but I will not be celebrating it with my husband. My son is still too young to remember, so I won't be hurting him. Hopefully when he is older, my husband and I are on better terms so we can celebrate him together. But for now, I'm doing a party with my family and friends, and my husband can do a party for him if he wanted. I just wanted to say something before I leave. Last time many accused me of being too dependent, letting my husband taking care of me and our son. I thought this is how life/love/partnership was supposed to be. I had a very respectable business and I loved my job. I was happy and content. I had a loving and supportive husband. We bought our beautiful place and renovated it from scratch with both our hard-earned money. I never foresaw the pandemic and how my business would suffer, how my life would be turned upside down. And when it did, I thought I could rely on my husband because that's what people supposed to do. If the roles were reversed, I would gladly have supported him until he got on his feet again. Because in the long run, the whole family would reap the benefits. So no, I wasn't dependent. I just thought I had a good safety net. If you still don't understand that people, no matter where they are in life, could fall and need to start over, expecting their loved ones to support them, or at least not take advantage of them. If you still don't understand that this doesn't mean that they're weak, then there's nothing more I could say to explain myself. So I'll leave it at that. Congratulations on your new place. I know it feels strange right now. That will pass. You and your son will find a new normal soon. Thank you very much. I'm sure we will, and I can't wait. First thing, congrats on moving out. That is going to do wonders for your mental and emotional health. About the part you said that you think he still loves you in a weird way, I think you might be right. But you deserve so much more than that. You deserve to be loved and cherished in the right way. One that is sincere and honest and puts you first above passing flings. This guy put his own selfish wants above the love and respect he had for you and your relationship. Remember, it's okay to let yourself grieve what you had, but don't let it hold you back from maybe finding love again someday in your own time. Remember always that you and your baby boy deserve all the happiness in the world, and never settle for less. So apparently, humans can stay monogamous after all. You did well. I find it fortuitous that he discarded her as easily as he did you. She was foolish not to expect any other result. Get settled and start making headway into your new life. I know you have to co-parent, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to use that or financial assistance to remain tethered to your life. Don't let him do that. OP needs to only talk to him through a parenting app that keeps records, and she needs to document everything. And if he gets real manipulative, OP don't hesitate to go for full custody. Document, document, document. Especially the year you already spent with him, how he moved a stranger into your house, which put your child at risk as you didn't know her and what she was gonna do. How you had to lock yourself in your kid's room because he refused to make her leave or break up with her. I doubt the court will like that he made these unilateral decisions that were obviously not good for either you or your kid. What a ride. I wish you all the best. I too still love my cheating husband. It is probably normal, albeit weird. Take your time to mourn what you had. Much love to you. I'm so sorry. Are you staying with him? Not sure yet, it's all so new. I will never trust him again for sure. I thought my douche was horrid until I read about your douche. I'm really sorry you had to endure all this for a year. My douche at least did it behind my back. Now for the last story. Husband cheated at a bachelor party. Need support. In a cliche move, my husband cheated on me at bachelor party this weekend. I can't believe his story obviously, but the story is that he got a lap dance from a stripper. He tried to hook up with her but he couldn't get it up as he had been drinking all day. He did tell me that he would 100% have slept with her if he could. I can't trust him because 1. Obviously he cheated on me. 2. He originally told me she had rubbed on him and he ended the lap dance then. 3. It took him 4 days to come clean with this second story, and only when he left for another bachelor party this weekend did he call to tell me the truth. I feel like my life is ending. I guess it is in some regards. I currently don't even have a job. No kids, thank God. But my husband is the breadwinner in my marriage, and I moved around multiple times to further his career, at probably the expense of one for me. I feel like that line from Pride and Prejudice where Charlotte is saying she's got no prospects, no money, and she's a burden to her parents and frightened. Only I'm 32, and she was at least only 27. I guess I just need someone to talk me down and help me with next steps. I'm actually at a bachelorette party for my future sister-in-law who is marrying his brother, so I have to keep it together until Sunday. Somehow, or at least in public anyway. I can't get a divorce until I at least get a job. That much is certain for me. I need some stability. I don't have the best parents, so going home to them wouldn't be a great option for me. Someone just talk to me. I'm devastated. Now for the advice. You need to immediately consult a divorce attorney. You shouldn't assume how a divorce will work in your circumstances. You may be able to get temporary support order. How do you even find a divorce lawyer law? Like obviously I'm Googling, but a good one. If you are in an at-fault state, you want to get proof of his cheating, so the next time he confesses get it recorded. You have to check to make sure you live in a one-party consent state for recording someone. But if you live in an at-fault state, you will want to get on that. Yeah, I told him he had to email me his story of what happened if he wanted any option to reconcile. 32 female here also got cheated on during engagement. Still angry 3 months after D-Day. Don't have many words to comfort you, but just know you're not alone. Feel free to DM if you want to discuss further. If it helps, I'm 32 and husband cheated the same year we got married. I switched careers to move to a state I hate so he could better his career. Just know, you're both not alone. But no choice has to be made immediately unless there is mistreatment. It's been almost a year since my D-Day and we separated but are dating. The time has helped me feel like I have control of next steps.